first question would be, how did you do that?
I was there watching, I was asking the same thing. How did I do that? I think I'm too old for that now.
I mean,
I amaze myself, the energy, the craziness, the craziness. How did I come out with that idea? How did we do that in China? It's I amaze myself.
where did it begin? What was your relationship to the source material, this novel by Wang Delu that I think is still not translated into English?
3 years before I made the movie, somebody pitched me the novel. And back then, I did 3 Chinese family drama. For some reason, he said, you should be making this. It's like martial arts. But I was triggered. And then I went on to make three more American movies, English movies. And this thing's gnawing on me. I don't know what it is. I wouldn't say it's pulpy fiction. It's not like literature or anything. There's some sections that are quite brilliant. There are sections like whatever. It's very uneven. I think the pulpy martial art fictions are our hidden dragon in Chinese. Chinese is a very strict culture, Confucianism and everything. You shouldn't do this, you ought to do that. Everybody behave accordingly, but inside, that's the shit like that. We've been repressing, that's the hidden dragon. More obviously, the sexual repression, especially to me. So I think that's the thing that's been moving on me. This is the abstract world. This is not official Chinese, but it's the true Chinese. It's in our fantasy. That's the truth, actually. We try to hide it. Only something like pulpy fiction, nobody give a damn, then it was allowed to unleash. And that's actually the truth, the hidden dragon in us. So I was seduced to a crazy movie, just let all the wildness come out. That's the genre. But at the same time, in the introduction, I said I was raised in Taiwan. Very Confucius kind of, and a lot of Japanese influence. We watch American movies, all that mix, and somehow the China, the dream of China is fashioning in my head. That's not what I see in Taiwan, certainly not in China or Hong Kong movies, none of them, but it's like so real to us. Something has to come out, the hidden dragon to me. So one is the sexual repression, the craziness. The other is the hidden China in me. I think that's a China that's lost. I think all parts of Chinese should get together and retrieve that memory. People from Taiwan, from China, from Hong Kong, which has the best, at the time, the best film industry, and they created genre, the martial arts genre, which is probably the only really contribution we have for the world cinema. The choreography, like nobody done that, and everybody's doing that now. That's our contribution. It's very inventive. It came from a Peking opera acrobats, that art, and Hong Kong filmmaker collaborate with a cinematic sense, particularly Japanese samurai movies. I think that has a lot to do with it. Western movies, and that all blend together. It's like a dream. It's a mixture of things. I could not articulate it. I need to make a movie, an American movie. So at the time, I worked with James in Good Machines. It's not even Focus. So I said to James, this is a crazy thing. He said, what is it about? So I said, there's no translation. This is a big, thick book. Doesn't make any sense. It has this and that. I said, well, it doesn't make sense. So, but he said, it'd be great if we go to China and make a movie. Anything goes. So I took some part of the novel and wrote, actually, I created more than half of it. That's not in a novel. That's like my dream movie, everything I put it in. And James wrote out this 70-page script, which is kind of sketch. All the actions, like they fight. And on the cover, it says, "Just trust, and we'll stage the most brilliant martial art movie ever made," and just put on a stage. That was it. It was a sketchy ideas, and then he sent out. Make long story short, I spent 3 days talking about the making of this. But in pre-production, I went to the other writer, the Chinese writer, Wang Huiling. I work all my Chinese language film with her. So we came out with the official script. But then James, after translation, back then I don't know the translation that well between Chinese and, he doesn't speak Chinese. And a lot of dialogue looked fine, totally fine to me. That sounds really stiff and unreasonable, laughable to him. I don't know where, up to last caution I made, I think I sort of figure you out and how to, because I need a semester to explain this. I can nobody do what I do. It's a collaborative English and Chinese, because the film language is by and large set by the Americans, the genres. We watch movie with certain mind track. That's a genre. But a lot of that is in the Western culture. We don't have that in our culture. But when you want to upgrade it and do this globally things, there's things that you just don't have history. You don't have, people don't talk like this, don't behave like that. It's very difficult, actually. Trust me, it's very difficult to blend them together, like oil, water. But I want to make everything I know. So that has a lot of English. So James is a great help to me. Point out what don't look, and he'll attempt it. And I go back to Wang Huiling and rewrite it. And some of the lines, actually I wrote them like a week or days before we're shooting. Then we have 2 Cantonese actors whose Mandarin is like awful. Like, what do? I want to kill them, but kill them won't help. And Michelle was crying, like, I told you I need a month to practice. She's a Cantonese speaker and an English speaker. This is the Mandarin, you're killing me. In the meantime, it's a pretty new thing. Zhang Ziyi is coming up, like, start to shine. The fighting is, James is joking that their duel is like a documentary. And then a lot of the tears is not only Li Mubai dying, it's her heart wrench right. It's also the difficulty she ran through the movie, in making the movie. Same with me. It was so tough. It's the hardest movie I made. I didn't take break for 8 months. My health is just like, ugh. It's a killer. But looking back, it's worth it. What did I record it? All the struggles, including the fears. My next movie is a high-tech movie, a Hulk. I was in ILM, the most sophisticated feature effects. And they're all watching this and Shaolin soccer. Like, how do you do this thing? I say, because it's real. We really hang them up. All the fears are real. It's not visual effects. And we have 30 people pulling those guys, pretending they're light. But it's a killer. We're killing them. It's most dangerous. I did to Jordan Fett, the biggest Asian star, what the stuntman wouldn't be allowed to do here. So we went through a lot. But it's as I said, it's a time of everybody open up their hearts. All the outside of Chinese work together. It's beautiful to trace something we missed that doesn't exist anymore. Everybody just want to give, and it's beyond our reach. It's way beyond our reach. We try to reach it. The clash of genres and movie regulation and cultures, it doesn't make sense. When people fly and act like crazy, and how do you blame how they're supposed to hold their ethics and all that, which is very particular. That's the Chinese part, very important to me. So all that is like day-to-day struggle. And Pose is only 4 months, only 3 guys. Nobody done visual effects before. And I spent most of the time doing dubbing. They're Cantonese. It's really a killer. Dubbing Mandarin, but finally we had to give up because the performance is so good. You want to preserve that. So the Chinese audience, they're used to like perfect Mandarin, perfect speaking, whether it's in Hong Kong, Taiwan, or China, they use the dub, standard Mandarin speaking, which is really phony, but it's movie, nobody cares. But if people speak authentic accent Chinese, which in reality we do, they're like, this sounds funny. But anyway, we kill ourselves just to make that happen. It looks like it's barely together. When we show it in Cannes, people just erupt in applause, and it caught the world's imagination. I think we lost that. At heart, this is not martial art. This is musical. I think it's a long lost innocence. We had fun. It's like some Chinese dude make this strange Chinese movie. They allow people to fly. They fight, when they feel like it. A sort of emotion, like musical, like people sing. Like we lost that innocence a long time ago. We're cynical, and when the movie hits, it did much better than let's say in China or Hong Kong. They're tired of the genre. It's strange. It doesn't quite fit. Usually, like before your seat is hit by your butt, you have to have the first fight, so people know they're in the right theater. But I hold it for 15 minutes, and people are this and that before the first fight. So it's kind of strange for them. But I think it caught the world's imagination. It caught that innocence we lost, we missed for a long time. It's movie magic. I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's a long answer for the question.
No, look, that's a great answer. Yeah, I mean, James, how did it? Please, yeah. James, this is like, a massive international production, both in spirit and materially, and it's not your first time throwing yourself into the Chinese language in a world that's, a little foreign to you. What is it like for you getting this off the ground?
Terrible. And exciting, and such an honor. It was but there were a couple of tracks Aang skipped over that were more materially relevant to my experience. I mean, one was, of course, crafting that first draft. It was 82 pages, by the way, not 70. And but it really was like, I literally did say like they fight. That was like, and knowing that Aang was going to enter into really the biggest creative love affair and battle of his life up to that point was Wen Ping. I mean, that was another epic martial arts movie in itself, that these two artists coming together and hashing out. But in the meantime, we had set up the financing for the film with a very wealthy, unnamed Taiwanese billionaire who, about 4 weeks before pre-production was supposed to start, stopped answering his phone, which meant about 2 months of my life went without sleep, and Joe DiPello and I were
I
struck.
think it's about 5 weeks.
Yeah,
in
5 weeks.
pre-production.
And luckily, one of the great heroes of world cinema, Bill Kong, Edco in Hong Kong, said, "Look, I'll help cash flow the pre-production while we figure this out." And it ended up being the most complicated financing deal of my entire career, 4 decades. I cannot tell you. This film was produced by a company that apparently exists in the British Virgin Islands, and was the result of, I think, 14 separate deals that we ended up making with the help, finally, of the folks at Sony Classics and an executive at Sony that has started up in Asia. I mean, it was just the most complicated thing. We were literally awake all the time. And at the same time, I had written a first draft that an actual Chinese person, if they read it without being as generous and forward-thinking as Aang as the team, would have been the equivalent of reading a script for a John Wayne Western, in which John Wayne rides a horse into town, gets off the horse, and kowtows 5 times to the sheriff. Literally insane, culturally completely insensitive. So there was a whole back and forth that Aang alluded to that included finally the translation, quote unquote, coming back to me. I had the translation translated, read it, had a heart attack, recovered, got on a plane, went to Beijing, and we just had. I mean, there's so many memories and so many anecdotes, but I'll be brief. But my favorite was pre-production took place outside in a working class suburb of Beijing. This is where I met Tim Yip the first time. We all stayed at this little hotel motel place where every head of department, their little room or the room would be, you'd open the door in the morning and that would be the art department. And rooms, I know this because I was looking at the budget, cost $9.72 American a night. And the price of erguto that I would buy across the street from me and Aang to get blitzed every night because we were so stressed because we still didn't even have the money was a slightly more. I think it was about 87 cents. And the whole thing was surreal. But in that world that was created in this space, people like Tim created what you saw on screen while we were struggling to get the money and while we were struggling to find a language that Aang believed in, that we all believed in, would justify all the effort and bring this to a global community. And every possible thing that you could imagine challenge went all the way through the 106 days of production that ended with Aang being checked into the hospital for exhaustion because he was not going to let one frame of this movie pass him by, including the B unit. He insisted on directing. And I'll just give you one anecdote and then I'll shut up. I was commuting back and forth, which is insane. But that meant that since we were shooting on 35 millimeter film, which thank you, Inney, for bringing a print, not the 4K restoration to you, but the actual movie. After the first week, I flew back to New York, and I got there before the negative, because we were shipping negative, if you can imagine, right? And then having it processed at the lab. And then our genius editor, Tim Squires, would transfer that to this very early days for Avid. And so by the time I got back to New York, he was just watching the first couple of days of dailies. And he called me because communications were very difficult over in the time difference and everything. He said, James, I think we're in this, I don't know what are we going to do? I was like, what do you mean? He said, well, what's going on over there? You must know because you were just there. It's like, what are you talking about? He says, well, I just got the first batch of dailies and it's just people stepping on each other's feet. I was like, yeah, because I think she's trying to keep her from flying. He's like, no, they're just literally stepping on each other's toes. I was like, just wait a day. And that's how you got that first scene of resistance to flight. And by the time we got to Cannes, the festival which had turned us down, they didn't want the movie. And we argued. And David Lindy, my fellow executive producer, and we convinced them to show it out of competition in the afternoon, shitty time slot. And we went into that theater and we had no idea what was going to happen because we were like, well, I guess people, I don't know, whatever, it's chop sake. I like it. And as Aang explained, it's 15 minutes of just like people having tea and talking about like, oh, this thing, the wheel and the thing and whatever. And suddenly that happens and this happens and this happens. And then the flight takes off and the entire theater went insane, just insane. And it was one of those great moments, I think, in our careers when we understood that all that effort had taken flight. But it was, so that's my long-winded version of answering a short question. But no, it was craziness from beginning to end.
I think Cannes is, yeah, please. I think Cannes has come to understand their mistake over the years because I saw it a few years ago. They played it on their big beach cinema. They
that was after they passed on Brokeback Mountain later.
Wow.
But anyhow, it's a whole. I love them dearly. So
a history of poor judgment. Tim, these sets and costumes are so beautiful. They totally immerse us in a world. Yeah, please. How did you enter this project, and how did you begin to develop this vision with Aang?
I'm working in Taiwan for a period of time and doing theater works, but the days I have been really busy and really exhausted about all this working. And suddenly I received a phone from Xu Ligong. Xu Ligong is a really famous producer in Taiwan. Yeah. And Zhao Xiongping and Guai Yalei, all of them is calling me at the same time. And they told me about this film, and of course, Inney is. And I just a little bit frustrated because at that time it's like I'm exhausted. And then Ang called me, and asked me, "Do you know how to do art direction?" So I learned. I have been. And then he asked me to come the other day. Like the second day or the third day. So I follow the script, and I go to Beijing, and I found that at that time it's really difficult for me because the group have been developed for a really long time, right? And then I have only 2 months to preparate, and then I start to really run out to see what is the movie about, but something is give me a really strange because it seems like most of the Chinese best people is being connected into this film, and I feel this is something that really interesting, really significant. So that I start to work really hard with that, and then I'm not doing the art direction only, but I try to studying the script and to understand what this is about, and then go deeper and deeper to develop that. And but luckily we have quite smooth working process. But we have so many stories. Maybe you have heard before. Like we're fighting with the cameramans and also the martial art master. Yeah, we because of the window, the window problem, and it's a really difficult time. And they create, they just create in the set. And afterwards, I sat there, I say nothing, but he asked me, "Are you serious?" I said, "Yeah, I'm serious." And Ang is walk away, and I'm sitting there. But next days, I found that the shot have been shorted to develop into three angles. And then I found that, I think at that time I really, really deeply impacted by the cooperation relationship. It's something like, it's nobody in that level to care about the movie, but we care about the movie. And then because of the Beijing, their wind is so strong, so that they don't open the door, the windows like what the master wants, because they just want to open the window and coming in. And I said, no, this window cannot be open. With Yu Jiaolong breaking the window, it seems like people know he's stoling things because he's playing. He's the kind of, in the dream of playing. So that I keep the window on the top, so that afterward I found that, really, really moving by that kind of understanding. And then the next day, I have I don't know you remember or no, we have a fanhe, the box of the rice, that? It's a really simple box of the rice. And then we're eating, and the other studio, they are working on a really crazy Kung Fu movie. It's about, glass window, glass lights on the top of the Forbidden City. And then this is my assistant before, and then asked me how to do it. So why they use crystal lights on that kind of thing. And then the Kung Fu master, they can easy to push the whole Forbidden City down. And I just have a little laugh with, and he's like that. Our hero didn't even open a window, but all these people is like boom, and the whole building is falling down. But afterward, I find this is significant for me. It's really deep in my experience, because we're going deep to the character. We don't paying about the monotone power, right? They always pushing like a monotone part. But I think everything is drama. That's what I learned in Kaujin Hidden Dragon. Thank you.
I have to explain one thing.
Please.
You know, in the Hong Kong style production, even at this scale, hair, makeup, costume, design, location, props, everything you see, all design, all did by one person. That's their style. We have 5 departments in American movie, but
The Green
Hong
Destiny.
Kong way.
I know we have some questions out here, so just throw your hand up, and we have some mics in the audience over here, up in the far corner.
Hi, I love this movie, I have to say. I love the music and the choreography. So my question is, in this movie, what do you think is the most important element that can resonate not only with Chinese audience, but also audience from other cultural background?
Even in this movie.
Yeah.
To be honest, as I said, I think it's the innocence. It's the first time the world seeing something like this. It's been in the subculture. Some people think it's really cool to see it, but nobody really seeing it this way and in a grand movie. I think that called the world's imagination. I think it's a crazy story like martial art film should be, but the way it was shot, it's beautiful shots. The choreography is not just for dazzling, the movement. It builds drama in it. Nobody did that, and nobody did since. Maybe a little bit Bruce Lee, I would say. That's a special case. But usually they go for as fast as they can, dazzling. But this actually slowed them down. That's why the Chinese audience has a little bit of, okay, it's kind of slow. But I get to build drama, performance into it, which is a very hard thing to do. It is dangerous too. If you're doing more than counting beats when you swing that sword, you get hurt, people get hurt. That's not fun. So I built that in. I think that's something very special. I think it's an all-around good production. The best music, best set design, best everything is slashed together. And for the world audience, a culture they're not familiar with, and a crazy story. And anything goes. The scenery all over China, from the desert, West Desert to Beijing to the south of China, the bamboo forest. I remember the choreographer complaints. Said, Mr. Director, they won't call your name like here. It's just Mr. Director. You want to fight? Or you want to see sceneries? I want everything. You can't. He's a big martial art director, which is bigger than us. The most expensive scene were the action movies back then.
He worked with King Hu and Chang Che and directed his own movies. Yeah.
Oh, this is like after King Hu. King Hu is like frugal, like so simple. These guys are like making big movies.
Yeah.
If they have 100 days shooting, 80 of them will be devoted to fighting. Like no more than 20 days, they just go with the movie, whatever. They say this, da, 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 da. That's why in some of the Michelle movie, you see that this cloth over, there's no truth in that in Chinese costume. It's just a cloth over her hair, and it looked kind of bad because they don't want to deal with the hair. It takes so much time. So everything's safe for the fighting scenes. That's their current. And I have drama, I have scenery, and I have all this crazy location all over China, traveling. We spent weeks and weeks. Back then, going to Xinjiang province, these days probably take a day. It's 8 days of company move. And I remember from this side of Xinjiang to the other side, back then 12-hour drive, we don't count it as company move. It's like one continuous shoot. It's really, really tough. So he complained, you want to fight or you want to, I still insist I want to fight everything. And he said, you want to see people fly or you want to see fist fight? You want people to see people hang or you want to see them on the ground fighting with fists? I want everything. And I want drama. I said, the thing you're asking maybe Jet Li and Jackie Chan, maybe they do a small portion of it. And you give me actors. What am I supposed to do? They're not fighters, they're actors. What am I supposed to do? I remember by the day we wrapped the last fighting scene, he came to me, Mr. Yuan Heping, which is the greatest choreographer. He said, Mr. Director, I have to apologize. I didn't do a good job. I know what you want, but it's just, and then years later, he would say, there's another Crouching Tiger, there's another one. I think after all, he appreciated the work, the brilliant work he put into it. Back then, if we get 50% of what we want, I think it will amaze the world. 30, 40% is already pretty good. And Mr. Yuan Heping told me the movie is the art of sorrow. Like you'll never get what you want. You just have to live with that. It's a great learn. I work with many filmmakers around the world. Those Hong Kong choreographers, to me, they understand a movie like nobody did. The smartest people. The two experiences I had in making movie. After the movie, I felt I was 3 notches smarter. One is my first English language film, English job, Sense and Sensibility. In England with those people, after the movie I felt I was so much smarter. The other is with those Hong Kong choreographers. In some ways, art department. Mostly the martial art people. They are the most brilliant filmmakers. I learned so much from them. It's incredible educational experience I had. I'm very thankful as a filmmaker. Filmmaking is not what people say in film school or what the critic thinks they are. It's life like that. So you figure something out. It's very naughty with the most fascinating people in the world. They just create movie magic, fool your eyes and make things well. They know how to flip line, how to get energy, what looks good. And that was movie making, sheer movie making. And I have a great taste of this in making this movie. I just feel so thankful that I experienced this.
Yeah, right over here in the third row towards the center here.
Thank you, director. Thank you all for making such an incredible movie. So I just want to go deeper of the Yu Zhaolong Jen's personality. So I noted that you mentioned the concept of family in the film, like so the Xiu Lian told Yu Zhaolong, okay, you should go listen to your parents, and also Yu Zhaolong's lover, Law, also told her, you should go back to your family, your father is looking for you. And I feel like you were trying to criticize the family, the concept of family in the film, and Yu Zhaolong is such, is not a obedient daughter in traditional Chinese family. So I feel like you're criticizing, I don't know, the Chinese, the family in the Chinese traditional culture. And I also wonder that, what do you think Yu Zhaolong Jen is looking for? Because we feel like, okay, she is trying to escape from her original family and also her family in Jianghu. But what is she really looking for? Are you just trying to say, okay, her disobedience, or you're also trying to tell the audience, okay, she's looking for the, I don't know, the free will or the freedom or something? Because yeah, that's what I want to know from your perspective.
To be honest, there's no answer to those things, but you can portray the characters' motivations. I think that's just follow their story, follow their motivations, follow their actions. I think that's what storytelling and drama should be doing. Of course, she's looking for freedom, but there's no such thing. Jianghu is a restriction. It's the social obligations. We have to live by that. Otherwise, we're killing each other. We have to live with each other, so we have all those rules. But China, it's Confucianism. But in America, there's something else. We all have that restriction. We have to live by. I used to. Any lead character in my movies, they're part of me. I sort of separate them. She's the part of me. I want to leave home. I want to be left alone. I want freedom. And in real life, I'm more like Yu Shoulian, the other girl, who's in real life. And then a big part of me is like Li Mubai, which cannot make decision. And usually women make decisions for me. That's why. I like women make decisions for me, so I don't have to make them. That's why Li Mubai's performance is really stiff. If you move this way, you know there's indication. If you move that way, there's another indication he couldn't let out. So he drove those women crazy by not giving clear direction, making decisions. I remember when I was shooting the bamboo forest, it was most difficult. We went over a schedule. It's like really difficult. You're hanging people on top of bamboo forest. That's not fun. It isn't easy. I remember one day I was in a hotel. I was calling James. He's in New York. He was very stressed out. And I talked to him about Hamlet. A person who cannot make decision. James got really upset. He said, Ang, you're working a genre the same as Drunken Master. Make sure you don't end up doing Drunken Hamlet. I can feel his anger. But so those are the three characters. They're all part of me. I'm like Li Mubai. That's my behavior pattern. And I'm very obedient, like Yu Shoulian, like the Michelle Yeoh characters in real life. But my heart goes to that girl that I don't know what she wants. She wants to be break free. But at the end, you know, she took a poetic choice. That's her freedom. The only freedom, absolute freedom, is you fly. That's why vaulting, the flying is very important. Defying gravity. That's very important to me visually. It's a visualization of our heart. I think we live in controversy, contradiction. That's okay. That's life. We don't have a clear answer, and we just have to accept that. Part of us wants to be free. We want to be left alone. We want to achieve whatever we want to achieve. The other part of us, we don't want to be alone. We want to have a belonging. We're yearning for it. We have to live with everybody else. So my movie has that sense of sensibility as the fight within us, but there's a harmony of love. That's all very important. But love is a restriction. It's not freedom. It's a boundary. I like to make movie about those, but I don't really have answer. I don't believe there's an answer. I refuse to believe there's an answer to those questions.
It's getting late, and I think that's a really beautiful note to wrap up on, unless anyone has anything they'd like to add. I'm so grateful to you all for being here.
I have about 2 hours worth of stuff to add, but I think I'll just zip it.
Well, remember, there's many more films left in this retrospective, and they're truly all worth seeing and some of the best work that's ever gone up on a big screen. So please give it up for Ang Lee, Tim Yip, and James Schamus.